All right, enough of that, Steelers Nation. How are we doing here today? You got myself here live this morning. You also got Mr.
I was going to say my chopped liver.
You also got Mr. Chipper Nenendahl, ladies and gentlemen.
Morning, everybody. Happy championship weekend.
Happy championship weekend is correct. And our guy joining us all the way from Chicago.
Don't say Chicago, God damn it. I ain't from that shitty city.
Albany, Chicago area.
It's nice and warm in Chicago. D's got his guns out today. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's where we're from, Chicago. How's everybody doing this morning?
Look at those BB guns he's showing off right there.
That's right. You got to take it to the gun show.
Yeah.
As I said off air, I feel like 10 pounds of shit stuffed into a 3-pound bag.
Hey, it's all good, though. It's all good, though, D's. How was your week besides that?
Cold.
Cold?
Yes, very cold. We finally got a little break yesterday. But that was yesterday, I believe, was the first day we've been north of 15 degrees in well over a week. So hopefully we're getting out of this little shit. Other than that, just work.
Well, any news on the Ohio State National Championship game? Did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched it. Well, most of it. I think I watched most of the first half, and then I was kind of flipping back and forth. I mean, that's kind of what I expected. I thought, if Notre Dame could have stuck with them a little more and done a little bit more in the first half, but they got down big and couldn't overcome the momentum there. They played. Honestly, it was closer than I thought it was going to be. I kind of felt like Ohio State was going to blow them out.
They should have.
Yeah, but hats off to Leonard. He, for a guy that isn't known as a passer, kind of put them on his back and brought them within 7 or 8 there at the end before Ohio State slammed the door.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of good NFL talent that's coming in here with Ohio State and with Notre Dame. Anybody caught your eye in that game that you'd like to see suit up for the Steelers next year?
I talked about it last week. I'm still really watching Will Howard closely. He's not getting very high rated right now. If you look at most mocks, he's going in the 3rd or 4th. We'll see what happens in, with the combine and pro day and whatnot. But I think he's got potential. I mean, he struggled a little bit early on in the season, but as the screws got tightened down the stretch, I liked what I saw from him. Real interested to see, like I said, how he ends up performing in the combine and pro days and stuff, because I think he could be one of those mid-round sleeper guys. He's big. He can run the ball. I'm not going to say he's Josh Allen, but he kind of could fit that kind of mold.
They're comparing him to him already.
I've heard something about his sizes and all that stuff are pretty much comparable to Josh Allen.
Yeah, so
he's tough, man. I like the kid.
I mean, he would fit good in a Steelers uniform. I mean, shit. Hopefully, he's there at our 3rd or 4th round pick. But we'll get into it. We'll start off with Chipper. So this is what we're doing this show. Our top 5 Steelers once free agency or draft, and our top 5 players from our current roster that are currently free agents that we do not want back, or somebody currently on the roster we don't go back. Chipper, we will start off with your first one as a Steelers player, draft or free agent wise.
Draft or free agent.
Yeah, draft or free agent.
First off,
who do you want?
I'm gonna go to draft, and I say I want Emeka Ibuka in the 1st round.
Okay, that's not a bad pick at your first want. That brings something that we need to the table with the wide receiver number 2, possibly number 1 if they trade George Pickens and get picks for him. Uh, there was a pick that was proposed. I think Chipper sent that a third and a
A
fifth.
third and a fifth to Carolina for George Pickens and a 7th round pick.
Yeah. So would you do that, D's?
I think a third is too low. I mean, yeah, he's got some baggage, but I still think George is going to command at least a second
Would you take a second and a fourth for him, or a second and a third?
in a heartbeat. Yeah.
You're not going to get a second and a third.
Or
No,
second-
it wouldn't be a second and a third. Maybe a second and a fourth. Worst case scenario, second
Yeah.
and a fifth. But
Second and a fifth.
I'm not fielding any calls unless they're coming with at least a second.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
no way you're going to get a second and a third for him.
So then we'll go to D's. Emeka Buka is not out of the question. I see a lot of mock drafts us taking him at 21, but I also seen with the Bengals possibly losing T. Higgins that at 17 they take Emeka Buka, so he stays inside of Ohio. So D's, who would you like either draft wise or free agent wise, and where do you start? Wide receiver, quarterback? Your call. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, my first. It's such a big question mark as far as what we're going to end up doing with George or whatever. But obviously, T. Higgins would be a big target. I don't think we really have much of a shot at that. So I'm going to go. I'd like to see somebody like Chris Godwin come in. You know, a mid-level. He's going to command a pretty good salary, but not like break the bank T. Higgins type money. And it's somebody that, you know, even when Mike Williams was out, he produced when healthy. I realize there's been injury concerns with him, but he's tough. He can do just about anything, whether it's a deep ball or tough catches over the middle. I like Godwin.
And that's the thing I just want to point out real quick is I actually thought about this morning, the whole T. Higgins situation with the money that he's going to command. I don't believe the Steelers will actually do that because they're not known to pay that kind of money for free agents.
Well, I mean, you're right, but there's a lot of Steelers beat writers like Chris Carter and them guys are saying that the Steelers might just break the bank this year with a wide receiver because they have so much freed up money with the quarterback situation. They can get Russell Wilson on maybe a 2-year, $20 million deal, or Justin Fields 2-year, $20 million deal. Sign your quarterback for 2 years, go draft a quarterback, and then spend your money on a offensive lineman. Or draft an offensive lineman and get 2 wide receivers. One you'll have to overpay for, and then go get yourself a veteran wide receiver, or trade Pickens, get yourself 2 picks, go get Devontae Adams and draft Emeka Buka. That's what Chris Carter was saying.
Well, I'm not saying not to get a wide receiver in free agency. I just think for the amount of money that T. Higgins is probably going to command, the Steelers aren't known to pay that kind of money for a free agent.
Well, you're right.
I mean,
Chipper.
I've got a couple of free agent wide receivers on my list that I don't think will command nearly as much money as T. Higgins will, but it's just the fact that the Steelers aren't known to pay that kind of money for a free agent.
Yeah, and you're right, Chipper. You're absolutely right. My needs at wide receiver in this order, I would like to bring Pickens back. He's our number 1. Our number 2, I would like to sign Higgins if we can, Chris Godwin, and go draft Emeka Buka. That's my picks at wide receiver, and run out Roman Wilson there. So that for 5 wide receivers, if you have 4 out of 5 of them in your room, maybe bring back a Skoranek and draft yourself a wide receiver in a later round, or get yourself a mid-level guy who's probably who wants to prove it, probably like a Tyler Boyd if he gets released. You know, you could bring him back, or Justin or Reynolds from Tennessee, who might be getting released as well. So there are a few guys that I got my eyes on with the wide receiver room and whatnot.
See, on the list that I have, free agent wide receivers that I've thrown out there, I've got Chris Godwin on there. I've got Stephon Diggs. I've even got Amari Cooper on there.
I would take Amari Cooper.
Yeah,
I
mean, why not? I mean, he hasn't done shit in Buffalo. Is it because of the offense? Is it because it's the Josh Allen show up there? I mean, he didn't do anything in Cleveland while he was here. So I mean, why not? I'm pretty sure you can get him relatively cheap. He hasn't done shit this year, so I'm sure you can get him relatively cheap.
And he's played in the AFC North. He's played in cold games. I mean, he knows how to play in the AFC North. And, you know, anytime you can keep a weapon from somebody in the AFC North, you go and get it. I wouldn't mind getting Amari Cooper, good veteran wide receiver. I mean, from all talks, he's got along with what's the wide receiver's name they drafted, the funny kid. what's his name out there
Where
in Buffalo? What's his name?
Keon Coleman.
Keon Coleman. He's been a real
the kid from Florida State.
Yeah, he's been a good teacher. Keon says, and so I'd take him as our second, maybe third wide receiver if you go get a Devontae Adams or a Diggs. But are you going to take a chance on Diggs? You talk about people who have bad rapport and who's bad in the locker room.
Well, he hasn't been on that bad since he's been in Texas or Houston, rather.
He forced his way out of Buffalo with Josh Allen.
Oh, well.
You can't get along with Josh Allen, and you demand the football, and you want to get rid of Pickens and bring in another head case. I would be okay with him.
I don't think I'd bring him in if we keep Pickens. That's just asking for a huge fucking headache.
Right.
Correct. But to replace Pickens, you're getting rid of one headache and bringing in another one. Now, if you pair him with Amari Cooper, maybe I would take him, but no, as our number one, absolutely not. Not happening.
Well, the whole problem with the wide receiver free agent wide receivers is who's going to want to come if we don't know who our starting quarterback is going to be, except for maybe if in fact it is going to be Justin Fields. You know, if the Steelers do let Russ go and let him go to Raiders to hook up with Pete Carroll again, who's to say that, you know, a Chris Godwin or a Stephon Diggs or T. Higgins is going to want to come here and play with Josh Fields, who's still kind of sort of unproven, unknown, and in the offensive system that we run.
You're right on that, though, Chipper. But don't you think if they go get a Mecca Buka or a T. Higgins that their plan is to push the ball down the field and get away from the run? Wouldn't you think that?
You would hope so.
I mean, Deez, is that what you would think if you go get one of them guys who can go deep that you want to push the ball down the field?
I mean, yeah, you want to, but it's not going to happen. Did we switch coaching staffs? Because I mean,
no, I'm just saying, because if you bring them in and you draft, if you go sign T. Higgins and you draft a Buka, I mean, that's the perfect scenario. If you line Pickens, T. Higgins, Emeka Buka, and Roman Wilson from the talent that we've seen that we didn't see this year on the field, that's a problem.
Could be, yeah.
If you sign a T. Higgins, are you actually still going to draft Emeka Egbuka?
I don't know, but I mean,
that's my point.
I don't see that. No,
yeah, they just rattled up, you know, 4 wide receivers, 2 of which are going to be drafted by us in Egbuka and Pickens. We're going to sign T. Higgins, and then we're going to supposedly have Roman Wilson on the field. That's 4 wide receivers right there. So that's what I'm saying. If we sign T. Higgins, are we still going to draft a wide receiver?
No.
Right.
We will, but it definitely won't be in the first, couple 3 rounds.
Right.
Yeah. So then take Pickens out of there. Then you have Emeka, or you have T. Higgins, Emeka Buka, Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin, your 4 wide receivers. Okay. And you go get a veteran wide receiver on a 1 or 2 year deal.
And you're still hoping that Artie gets his head out of his ass and wants to actually throw the ball.
I don't think it's Artie's I don't think it was Arthur Smith's problem. I think he didn't have the quarterbacks to have his offense at his full potential. That's my thoughts on that.
I don't think he was allowed to use his offense to the full potential is the thing. And then you're limited by, once he pulled the Justin Rugg out from under him and you got Russ in there. Yep. You basically eliminate the middle of the field. That's why there were so many bootlegs, and Russ isn't quick enough to get out on a lot of those bootlegs anymore. So the bottom line is I don't care. We could sign T. Higgins, get Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, every fucking good wide receiver in the NFL. It's not going to matter if we don't actually use them, and that's been the problem. Like we gave up a draft pick for Mike Williams, and he was targeted 26 times, I think, for the entire half year that we had him. He caught 13 passes, something like that. Just absolutely ridiculous. If you're gonna go out and make a splash and even chase a guy like T. Higgins, I don't think they're gonna get him. I think we're gonna end up settling for somebody in the mid tier. Whether it be a Godwin or a Cooper or maybe a Devontae Adams if he gets released, it's not going to matter if we're not going to use them. If we're going to keep George, I think you have to rely on getting somebody, a veteran leader type, somebody that can kind of take George under his wing and show him how not to be a fuckhead. Like I'd like to see Devontae Adams because I know Devontae is a fan of George, and it seems like George has, kind of been a fan of Devontae. So maybe somebody like that could kind of reel him in a little bit. But that's, to me, those are the two cogs that we have to quarterback situation. And then what are they going to do with George? Because I think that's going to dictate what's going to happen going forward, whether it be in free agency or the draft.
Yeah. So Deez, did we get to you about who you wanted? We got
yeah, so, yeah. Like I said, T. Higgins is on the wish list, but I don't see any chance. So that being said, I would like, somebody like a Chris Godwin, or even, again, if you're going to keep George, and Amari Cooper and Devontae, if and when he gets cut, which I think he will.
Okay. So Chipper, we'll go back to you. Your number 2 want on your list, if you had to go pick number 2, position wise, whatever you choose, offensively or defensively, or draft or free agent.
I'm torn for number 2 between either running back or defensive lineman, because defensive lineman, I'm kind of going on your preface of what you've been talking about us possibly trading Alex Highsmith. So I've kind of got a couple of names on my list here. I've got Hassan Reddick, who wants out of New York,
and you could probably get him fucking cheap, and he's still a fucking fucking threat at rushing the passer.
Mm-hmm.
And you put him next to TJ Watt, that kind of makes up for Alex Highsmith. But go ahead.
So I have Hassan Reddick, Chase Young, who's been stuck in purgatory down in New Orleans ever since he got traded or whatever from Washington. He hasn't really done anything, so I'm sure you can get him. Or bring back Javon Hargrave.
I'm cool with a great list, Chipper. I'm cool with any of them on that list. D's, you?
I mean, sticking with the same theme, I'd like to see us go out and get BJ Hill.
Yeah, from the Bengals. I saw that. Yep.
Yeah, Larry O is probably done. They're probably going to cut him. So you could go and get a guy probably in the same price range with BJ Hill, and I think your production is going to be a lot better. I'm not. I'd be pretty wary of Hassan Reddick just because of the bullshit that he pulled last year. To me, are you really upgrading by getting Reddick over Highsmith? I don't necessarily think so.
Well, I just think that Reddick just wants out of New York. With all the crap.
Can you blame him?
Right. With all the shit that he's had to deal with the Jets organization, he just wants out of there. Period. And
we'll see.
It changes scenery. With maybe the Steelers or whoever.
What's up, G3?
Maybe a change of scenery would do him good. He'd be a beast. And again, I'm just preferencing that list on Dave's preface of us possibly trading Alex Highsmith. Obviously, we don't trade Alex Highsmith, and this list that I just came up with is moot because we don't need
somebody in the middle of the defense is going to have to be moved or whatnot. They're going to have to move somebody, whether it be Highsmith. Probably not Peyton Wilson, probably not Herbig. So somebody's going to have to be the odd man out there.
Well, we're talking about defensive linemen. We're not talking about linebackers. We're talking about defensive linemen.
Defensive linemen. Okay, then go get me, like you said, Chase Young. You know who else I would take too, who had a decent year that you could probably get cheap to fill in for Larry O, is fucking Jadeveon Clowney. You can go get him cheap.
But that's an edge guy though. We need middle meat. We've got the outside.
What about Josh Mathias from the Vikings? He's a free agent after this year.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad. But again, I want, you need a Larry O type, a big body that can take up blockers and free those linebackers to play the run. Larry was kind of up and down. Yeah, I'd take Hargrave back. And if we can't get a BJ Hill, then you can get a, Javon Hargrave for a little cheaper, put him back with Cam and see what you got. I mean, he's an animal as long as he can stay healthy. You just need somebody that can, stay in their gaps and keep those linebackers free to make plays.
Mm-hmm.
So Deez, is there anybody in the draft besides free agency that you would like to look at for the defensive line? Anybody caught your eye?
There was what was his name? I'm looking at the list now. There was one I saw that I thought would be interesting. Let me see if I can find him now. Derek Harmon from Oregon, I think would kind of fit that mold.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people talking about him. I was going to say the kid from Oregon, but I couldn't remember what his name was. There's a lot of people that were talking about him being our second round pick. So I don't know if he's that high of a pick, but I mean, if you can possibly make a trade for a Pickens or whatever, and like you said, don't get anything less than a second round and a fifth round for him, then you go get him. That gives us 2 second round picks where you can go get another wide receiver, maybe a running back in the second round or whatnot, and whatnot. But yeah, I'm cool with getting Harmon from Oregon.
Yeah, I'm looking at Daniel Jeremiah's first mock right now, and they've got him going to the Bills at 30. So he's getting a pretty high grade. Now, granted, we still got to see combine and pro days and stuff. This stuff's going to change 1,000 times before April rolls around. But so far, he's rated as a low first, high second. So,
what's up, Lex? How you doing today? Yeah. So then we'll get into our third one. Well, I'll get into mine. I would like us to get a running back. I got a few guys on my list. If we're signing free agents, give me Aaron Jones, who I would take at our 1. I bring back Warren. But if I had to draft somebody,
well, we got Warren. He's under contract.
He's a restricted free agent, so somebody would have to, give us a pick for him or whatnot. But he's still on their list as a free agent. So yes, he's back there in the backfield, but it can be, he can be traded or sign a different offer sheet or whatever for somebody else, and then Pittsburgh's got to prove that or whatever. I'd like to go get Quinshawn Judkins, draft him in the second round, and if we're going to get some veteran presence back there to replace Najee, I know we talked about this off the show, J.K. Dobbins or Kareem Hunt. Your guys' thoughts on them?
I think second round for Judkins is way too high. I can see him or Travion Henderson in the third or fourth round. But yeah, second round's too high. I mean, I'd be totally cool. Like we talked off air, J.K. Dobbins would be cool with me. It's the fact, the only problem is he can't stay healthy. He played, what we say, 13, 14 games this year, and that's probably the most games he's played maybe since his rookie year, even if he played that many games in his rookie year. So yeah, I mean, Aaron Jones, okay, sure.
Yeah, as deep as the running back class is in the draft
Right.
this year, I don't see any need to go as high as second. I think you can get a quality back from the fourth, fifth round. I would like to see, and I don't think it'll fall this way. I think it'll go a little too high for our blood. I like Cam Scatterbo.
Yeah, from Arizona.
Yeah, that kid's a stud. Like he can do it all. He's got power, a little bit of speed. He's shifty. I think he would go well in this kind of offense. But as far as free agents, there's some guys in there that you could get for a possible like third back replacement, whether it's like Javonte Williams or Madison. Again, J.K. Dobbins, as long as you're not depending a lot on him, just like we talked about for the injuries. Jeff Wilson wouldn't be a bad pickup if you could get him for cheap as a third, possible second running back.
Would we consider bringing back Najee?
I would, but I don't think Najee. I think he's. I just don't think he would.
I would bring him back too. I mean, he's rushed for 1,000 yards every year he's been in the Steelers backfield. I mean,
but would you bring him? Okay, would you bring him back over anybody that's in the draft? Say, would you bring him back over Quinshawn Judkins, Travion Henderson, Scatterbo?
Probably not. I mean, I love Naj. He runs hard. I think that he gets a bad rep because the holes aren't there. But at the same time, for the kind of money that he's going to command, which is going to be, whether you like it or not, he's one of the top free agent running backs, and he's probably going to command, 6 to 8 million from somebody. So no, I don't see that happening. So I would probably go into the draft, but if he would come back, give us a discount. But until we change offensive line coaches and adjust the scheme a little bit, I don't think it's going to matter.
I think also too, I think that bridge was burned with him, that he knew probably.
I agree with that.
He was done in Pittsburgh because they didn't pick up his 5th-year option and whatnot. And, just by comments that he's saying and, whatnot, I think he's done. I think he go fit with the Raiders and whatnot with their new head coach, or go out west somewhere where, he can play in a dome or whatnot. Maybe not the Raiders, but the Rams and whatnot. He can go to the Raiders too. But I don't know. The writing's on the wall for him. I also seen him linked to the Patriots as well. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I would bring him back if, like I said, if you sign him for a 1-year deal, maybe $6, $7, $8 million, maybe. But he's probably going to get a 4 or 5, maybe 6-year deal, maybe 3 or 4-year deal with a team for like $30 million a year. So he's going to get that. So, or 20, maybe a 3-year, $27 million deal with somebody, but he's going to get that.
He's definitely
he's not signing anywhere for 1 year. This is like the payday for a running back, that first contract after your rookie deal. So he's going to take, highest bidder regardless of where it is, because, running backs don't have a very long shelf life, and the fact that he stayed relatively healthy. So yeah, he's going to look to get paid. I don't think he would come back to Pittsburgh on a 1-year deal, or go anywhere for that matter on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, he's not coming back. He's not coming back to Pittsburgh. He said the bridges have burned. He probably feels disrespected by the fact that they didn't extend it and give him that 50-year pickup, 50-year option. So I just don't see him coming back.
George says that Harris would probably end up with the Cards. They have money,
but they just signed James Conner to an extension.
They did. They signed Conner to a big extension. So I don't know. We'll see where it actually goes. All right, we'll start off with you, number 3. D's, what's your third need or want offensively, free agent or draft, whatever?
I probably should have said this first, but Justin Fields. You got to bring Justin Fields, and like I said last week, you ride it until the wheels fall off, and see what the kid's 26 years old, and he's going into his 5th season. Like, it looked like the light was starting to come on a little bit, even though he struggled in those last couple games. You could potentially have a franchise quarterback there, and I don't see any other options out there that are more attractive than that. So you let Russ go wherever, and you put all your eggs into the Justin Fields basket, ride it till the wheels fall off. Worst, what's the worst that could happen? He sucks, and we end up cutting him after the year, and we get a good draft pick, or, it'll be the status quo. We see where he's at. Our defense is going to be good enough that we're still going to be in most games, and we'll win 9 or 10 and lose in the first round again. But
let me ask you this question: if this quarterback becomes available, do you want him? Derek Carr?
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay, because there's a lot of talk about the Saints giving up on him and starting over at the quarterback position.
Mm-mm.
You don't want Derek Carr?
No.
You would rather have Justin Fields start over?
Yeah, I mean, with Derek Carr, you know what you're getting with Derek Carr. Like, he is what he is, and like, he's not going to suddenly become a superstar. He's inconsistent, and you already know. With Justin, like I said, he's only 26. He's got athletic ability that's off the charts, and he's had several systems, so he's never really gotten a chance to settle in. Artie likes him. To me, that's the only option at quarterback, unless he says, no, I'm going somewhere else. That's, you put all your eggs in that basket.
I totally agree on you. And if you do that, you bring him back, you're going to have a veteran quarterback behind him. There's a few people on my list, veteran wise. I'll give you my 2 that I'd like to see with him. And people might say, absolutely not. Daniel Jones, you can get him on a cheap deal as a backup quarterback. Jameis Winston, Jacoby Brissett, that's my top 3 backups, or maybe even a Carson Wentz if you bring Justin back. That's just my opinions on who I'd like to see behind Justin, but I totally agree with you 100%. For these dominoes to fall, for us to build our offense, we have to get our quarterback situated first before any other thing out there. So you have to make that decision now if you're going to go with Russell or if you're going to go with Justin Fields. And whoever you're not going to go with, you got to stick with it and move on and draft the quarterback later in the rounds. And if we do get the opportunity to draft in the later rounds, 2 quarterbacks that caught my eye was Jackson Dart and Will Howard.
I like either one of those, especially in a later round. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you can get an opportunity to get any of them quarterbacks, I'm cool with it. Chipper.
Would you guys think that the writing is kind of sort of right? The writing is kind of sort of on the wall right now with Pete Carroll being the head coach for the Raiders, and the talk of that him and Russ have mended fences, that Russ will more than likely, or the chances are really, really good of him going to the Raiders, which in which case would say, Justin Fields, you're going to be our guy?
Okay, I'll let you go on that first, Deez, and then I got a comment on that. Go ahead.
I've seen you made a mention about it in the chat, and I was like, no, but then all day and all the talk radio and even McAfee and everything was kind of talking about it. It's possible that he goes to the Raiders with Pete Carroll. However, Tom Brady is the one that's actually calling the shots now, and I have a hard time believing that Brady is going to start this rebuild process with a 36 going on 37-year-old quarterback that can't throw the ball over the middle. So I would say that him and Pete got to have some discussions before anything like that. But maybe you bring Russ in if you're going to end up with a Shedeur Sanders, somebody that can mentor a guy like that. But I don't know. It'd be interesting to see.
But I got, how do I put this? So Brady would be more than willing to start the next season with Aiden O'Connell as their starting quarterback, or who else did they have? Was it Gardner Minshew? Gardner Minshew or Aiden McConnell as their starting quarterback for next year?
What's his name that was drafted out of Cincinnati, that they signed off the practice squad he played at Cincinnati. Not Spencer Riddler, Damian Riddler, whatever his name is. He was drafted by the Falcons. Remember that kid? He started
Desmond Ritter.
Desmond Ritter,
yeah.
Desmond Ritter. He played 2 games this year with them. So that's your quarterback room.
So that's what I was thinking is, are the Raiders really going to want to start next season with, Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew as their starting quarterbacks, or do you just bite the bullet and, bring in Russ?
Here's my thing with that. I think, again, and I've talked about this in the chat.
I mean, God knows the Raiders have got a lot of rebuilding to do. So.
Yeah, they got a lot to do. If you're going to bring Russell Wilson in, if you're going to bring him in, coaches or GMs usually take players that they're familiar with and that they are cool with and that knows their offense. Obviously, Russell Wilson has been around. Pete Carroll, he knows how he coaches. You know what you're going to get from him at 36. Can you get him on a 2-year deal, maybe $20 million, and you convince Tom Brady and say, hey, he's a good leader. We'll draft Sanders, move up, or draft another quarterback in this draft or whatever in the later rounds, and we'll take our chances with that. But Russell Wilson is a good stopgap for 2 years. You get him in a dome. You get him familiar with the offense back in the West Coast. I don't think that's a bad relationship or a bad thing to look at. I think it's very possible. I would say 60% chance that Russell ends up there. But again, it all depends on what the Steelers want to do. I mean, Russell Wilson's on the Pat McAfee show saying that him and Pittsburgh have started contract negotiations. So what is that contract that he's leaving or the contract that he's staying? I mean,
that's not what he said. I know some outlets kind of picked that up. He said literally all he said was, yeah, we've talked. Like I don't honestly think that they've even discussed a contract with him. I think that there may have been some communication, but if I had to guess, I would say, yeah, we'll talk later kind of thing. I don't think that they've expressed any actual interest in bringing him back. What's he going to say? Well, no, yeah, they told me to get fucked and I'm not coming back. So yeah, I think that's Russ trying to talk his way into staying. I honestly don't think Pittsburgh has done anything in terms of like negotiating. I just think that's
George says the Raiders need to move up into the draft to get a QB. So expect Tennessee and Cleveland asking a lot. Absolutely. But are you starting Shedeur Sanders on day one? Are you starting Cam Ward on day one? I would say probably not. So you're going to have to bring in a veteran quarterback who can.
But why not?
I'm just saying.
I mean, why not? I mean, a mock draft that I saw late last night, I did see where the Raiders and Titans made a deal where the Raiders got the number 1 pick. They did take Shedeur Sanders, and then the Titans took, I think, Travis Hunter. But why wouldn't you? I mean, there's so much rebuilding to do over at Raiders in Vegas. Why wouldn't you start Shedeur Sanders day one?
I mean, I don't know. That's just my opinion on it. Not to say that Shadeur's not a starter in the league. I think he's still got some things that he needs to develop on. And I think having a good quarterback in front of you, a veteran quarterback who's seen almost everything. He's went to 2 Super Bowls. He's played in playoff games and whatnot. Having a good quarterback in front of you can make your career a little bit better, just my opinion. So,
but you also have one of those veteran quarterbacks up there in the owner's box. that can help you out.
Yeah, but he really doesn't sit in the owner's box. He's broadcasting games and whatnot. He's not allowed to discuss.
Yeah, but during spring training and stuff like that,
I mean, you're right on that, Chipper.
just throwing that out there.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, we'll see when the draft comes. So I mean, saying
we got a lot. We got what 2.5 months until draft time.
I'm saying it's 60% chance that he ends up in Vegas, Russell Wilson. So yeah, so there you go. All right, your guys' aspect on that.
Well, my third option is since I went with defensive line on my second, I went third is running back. We got to solve the running back situation, whether it be free agent or the draft. Me personally, not because I'm a Ohio State honk or anything, but I want Travion Henderson over Quinshon Judkins.
Why?
I think he's a more powerful back. He can catch the ball. Either one's fine. Judkins may be faster than Travion, but I just like Travion because he seems like the more powerful, better back out of the two. That's all.
Okay.
No other rhyme or reason other than the fact I just like Travion Henderson more than I like Quinshon Judkins. But then, like I said, solidifying the running back, the number 2 running back, whatever, and we discussed it. J.K. Dobbins, Aaron Jones, whoever. We just need to solidify, the number 2 running back spot, provided Najee isn't coming back.
These your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, definitely need to address the running back position, and I think we can do it in the draft. But I think we also need to do something at corner. Whether, again, it's going to be what happens in free agency over, I've seen some mock drafts have us taking the kid from, there's some that say that the kid from Notre Dame, and then there's the one from the smaller school. I can't remember which one it is, but if we can't, solidify it, and I'm not opposed to bringing back Dante Jackson either. I thought before he got hurt, he was having a great year, and I'd like to see, I wouldn't be opposed to having him and Peasy, still be our edges out there. But if you don't bring back Jackson, there's good guys out there. You get a DJ Reed, Travarius Ward, Jonathan Jones, Byron Murphy. All those guys are going to be free agents. You don't have to break the bank, but it'd be nice to have a solid number 2 corner. And I'm not saying that Dante can't be that, but if he does leave, I think they need to do something there, whether it be in the draft or free agency. You
actually brought up on yesterday's show about Igmanosin from Ohio State, and we were talking about how he actually is staying at Ohio State.
Is he?
He announced he's staying at Ohio State. So
okay, cool.
Thank God.
Maybe
he'll learn something about quit using his hands so much and getting the most penalties in college football.
My number 4 want or need in the draft, whether free agency or whatnot, I want either, here's my top 3 free agents that I like to bring or keep. Jackson is number 3 on the list, the Steelers cornerback. 1 or 2, if I'd like to go sign, I'd either like to have Tre'Davious Ward from San Francisco or DJ Reed from the Jets. That's my picks for that, or draft the kid. I think his name was Revis, the one you're talking about from South Carolina State.
No, that doesn't sound right. What the hell was his name?
Who are we talking about?
Cornerback, the kid from I think is Ravis or whatever, Ravis Jr., Darnell Ravis Jr.
That might have been it.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah, number 28. He's like 5'11", and he's a lockdown cornerback, but he's coming off of an Achilles.
Okay.
So that's who I'd like to get. Chipper, what about your 4th? I know we just did, or D's. What about your 4th?
God, now you caught me.
Caught him with his pants down.
Yeah. I mean, I get a wide receiver, and we need more than one. So whether it's draft or free agency, again, I think we need to acquire 2 solid wide receivers. Hopefully, 1 free agency, 1 in the draft. It's just for them to ignore that position until when they did, to the point where it was too late anyway. And I mean, we picked up a guy and basically pissed away a draft pick for a guy that we didn't use. I think that's got to be a priority this offseason.
So you want them to address it by getting 2 in the offseason?
Yeah. I'd like a veteran. I'd like a veteran guy to come in that can, make a impact right away.
Okay.
Whether it be a Devontae or Amari Cooper, because again, I think T. Higgins is off the board. Godwin is an option as well, and then a young guy that you draft, whether it be a first rounder, which depending on what you do in free agency, like if they get a top tier guy in free agency, I don't think that wideout goes number one unless somebody falls into our lap. But it's not quite as deep in the receiver as it is running back, but you could still get a solid guy in the mid to late rounds that could come in and contribute if you have two established, whether it be Pickens and Adams or Godwin, whatever.
So what? All right, let's see. Hopefully, I can word this right in regards to the wide receiver room. Would we be safe to assume that what happens to Pickens, as far as either staying or being traded, is determined by what we do in free agency and maybe even the draft? For instance, if we do by some chance get a T. Higgins or somebody of that nature, is George gone? Do we trade him then?
I will tell you this. If they go sign a stud wide receiver and draft another wide receiver, Pickens is gone. That's my thought. If you go get a T. Higgins or a Chris Godwin, if you get one of them and you go draft a Mecca Buka or the kid from Missouri, Bowden III or Bowden III, then most definitely they are moving on from George Pickens.
Because if we're going on based on what you guys are saying, like Dee's just said, we're assuming we're keeping Pickens, but yet he wants to get a T. Higgins or somebody else and then drafted an Ibuka or something like that in the draft. And we still have Roman Wilson and we still have Calvin Austin. That's what, 5 wide receivers. There's only so many balls to go around. So that's why I'm asking. I mean, what we do in free agency or draft, does that determine what exactly we do with Pickens?
Yeah, well, and I think we also have to wait, just like with the quarterback situation, that's a very important piece that they're going to have to get in place soon. Is on the flip side of that, George Pickens, who is in his final year, and as recent history has shown, like this is the year when wideouts want to get paid. You know, they want that extension now.
Right.
So his attitude and his wants and whatnot could dictate what's going to happen, what Pittsburgh's going to do. Because, I mean, if he's going to come out and ask for, you know, top tier wideout money, which I believe he will, even though, you know, his baggage doesn't really call for that, he's going to want to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying he's going to command Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson type money, but he's going to be in that, like, probably top 10 wide receivers contract is the way I think that they're going to try and market him. So I think that's going to really dictate what Pittsburgh does. You know, if you're the Steelers, are you willing to take a chance and give that guy, you know, 20 plus million a year for somebody who might be a fucking head case? I don't know that I pull the trigger on that.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's what I'm just trying to figure out. You know, we're talking about, you know, signing a free agent receiver, drafting a wide receiver, but yet, you know, if we do all that, we'll end up with 4 or 5 wide receivers in the room, and there's only so many balls that can be thrown around. So, you know, the Pickens thing is to kind of the interesting thing is what's going to happen with the draft and the free agency, I guess.
Yeah, like I said, the quarterback and the Pickens situation, I think, is really going to be the driving force as to what our offseason is going to look like. Those are the two things that they have to solve, I think, like first.
Mm-hmm.
You know, find out who your quarterback's going to be, and then what are you going to do with George? I personally don't think he's coming back. I just, you know, he can say, no, there's no trade talks, whatever, you know, until he's blue in the face. I have a hard time believing that they're going to bring him back, especially considering he's going to want to be paid this year.
Right. And number 4 for me is the quarterback room. I mean, Justin Fields, and, you know,
if you had an ideal backup quarterback and I gave you a list of them, who would you like to see back up Justin Fields? Rookie, or would you want to bring in a veteran?
Definitely not a rookie.
So, okay, so you got to pick.
Why can't we just keep Kyle Allen?
I mean, you can, but
he's already on the roster.
No, he's not. He's a free agent.
Is he free?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Our QB room is empty right now.
Okay. I mean, I really don't care. We just need a veteran quarterback. And for hell, you can bring back Mason Rudolph for all I care.
So would you take back Mason Rudolph over Jacoby Brissett?
Sure.
You would take Mason Rudolph over Daniel Jones?
I mean, it depends on the money.
Yeah.
You're talking a big contract difference between those two. Daniel Jones.
Okay.
And wouldn't Daniel Jones want to go somewhere to be the starter, say in LA or Vegas?
Would you take Mason Rudolph over Jameis Winston?
Yes.
Would you take Mason Rudolph over Carson Wentz?
I don't know enough about Wentz, to be honest. I know he's in Kansas City?
Yes,
Yeah.
he's their backup.
So I have no idea.
You know who else is a free agent this year too, as well, is your boy Kenny Pickett. I know that he's not coming back.
Definitely not coming back.
But would you take Mason Rudolph over him?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I mean, why is that even a conversation when you just said he wouldn't come back here?
I'm just saying, if you were a GM and you had them two sitting in front of you, who are you taking? Pickett or are you taking Mason Rudolph?
I'm taking Mason Rudolph.
Okay. Just asking you. You're a GM because he's gonna be a backup somewhere or a starter somewhere, maybe compete for a starting job. So I don't know.
I mean, if you're going with Justin Fields, you want a veteran, but you don't want a veteran that people are going to start shouting for if Justin does not perform. You know, I don't want the crowd chanting for, a quarterback when like I said, wheels got to fall off. Just ride him till the wheels fall off, find out. I wouldn't be opposed to a guy like Jameis Winston because he's got talent, even though he tends to turn the ball over. The key is that he doesn't see the field, but I like his leadership.
And that's the only reason why I didn't go with Jameis Winston is the fact that he's a human interception. He just turns the ball turns it over way too much.
If you need somebody to start,
and that's not the type of quarterback that Tomlin wants.
I don't think Tomlin would touch Jameis for that very reason because he's Mr. Anti-turnover.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah. What about Andy Dalton? Would you take him?
My God, is he still alive?
Yes. He's the Saints' backup quarterback.
Is he going on his 30th team?
Carolina.
Yeah, Carolina. Yeah.
He's a free agent.
He's like on his 30th team, isn't he?
It's okay, but would you take him?
Sure.
Okay. There you go.
I mean, if there's nothing else there, yeah, but I think there might be better options.
All right, so now we're on our fifth. What do you want fifth wise, Chipper? Your fifth need.
I'm looking at defensive backfield. I mean, we talked about that a little bit ago. Dante Jackson was really good as the opposite corner to Joey Porter Jr., but the two cornerbacks, because I know I seen a couple of mock drafts. They have us taking quarterback or a cornerback or even a safety in a couple of mock drafts. And I think our safety position is fine because Minka's not going anywhere. So I got two on here. I got Tre'Davious Ward and Carlton Davis. Carlton Davis from Detroit. He had from what I saw this year, watching a lot of Lions games this year. I wouldn't mind him. And we also have Asante Samuel Jr. is out there from the Chargers.
You know who else is out there as well? Would you take a flyer on Jeff Okudah from Ohio State? He was the third pick of the Lions a couple years back and has been a little bit injury prone. He's like 27 years old.
Maybe. Sure, maybe. But yeah, I think, my fifth spot is, doing something with the defensive backfield, especially at cornerback.
Okay, Deez, what about you?
I mean, yeah, I agree. Again, a lot of it's going to depend on what they do with Dante Jackson. But I definitely think that needs addressed because obviously you're going to kick fucking Sutton to the curb. You better anyway.
Dave will be pissed.
Yeah.
They let Cam Sutton go.
Fuck no, I wouldn't. He's number one on my list not to bring back. He's 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, 1E. I'm not bringing him back for anything.
I also wouldn't mind seeing going after a guard that could start potentially or at least mentor some of these young guys, whether it's like a Zach Martin or
he's a tackle.
Zach Martin? No, he's a guard.
I know. Dave brought up Ronnie Stanley like he's a tackle.
Oh, yeah. Brandon Scherf is another one from Jacksonville that would be a solid guy.
Isn't that what Isaac Salamalo is pretty much here for? Isn't he like the veteran? He's a veteran on the offensive line.
Getting rid of him.
Why?
because his contract's like $10 million. They're probably going to get rid of him, free up some money.
So
Yeah, I mean it's possible. But if you do that, you definitely need to bring in a veteran guy because you know,
absolutely. There's no way you can start four rookie. You start four rookies and then a 30-year player in Broderick Jones. There's no way you can do that.
Yeah,
Sandy, I dislike Cam Sutton.
Oh, he absolutely loves it. He's got at least 5 jerseys of his. You should
Don't
see
believe
it.
that. Don't believe that. Yeah, I want an offensive lineman too as well. Somebody that can play multiple positions on the offensive line because we tend to have that on our team. Somebody who's utilized on there. I'm not sold on who we have now. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to bringing Herbig back as a piece on our offensive line. But again, if you're not going to do nothing with Broderick Jones and if you're not going to move him to left tackle.
Well, they're going to move him to left tackle because Van Moore isn't coming back.
Okay. Well, I mean, there's talks in the Steelers Twitter from people that follow them that they're probably not going to move him to there. That's what the talk is. So if you don't, that's why I brought up Ronnie Stanley, and the dude from Kansas City that's a free agent. Their guards. Jones is his last name, like Greg Jones or something like that.
Okay.
So I would bring one of them two in if I had the opportunity, or I would draft somebody in free agency, or draft somebody.
Yeah, I've seen a mock draft where we draft yet another offensive line, but I just don't understand why you want to draft an offensive lineman when we've already got, like I said, we're going to start essentially four second-year players next year, and then a third year player at left tackle. So I don't even know why you would even want to draft an offensive lineman this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to move Broderick over to the left side. That's what he's built for. It's what he played in college. And you got Fatanu coming back.
Right.
He's more of a compact road grader type that fits the mold of a right tackle. So, and I think Broderick can be a good tackle. He showed flashes his rookie year, kind of struggled this past year. But I think a part of that is technique, which again, why Pat Meyer still has a job is beyond me. You need to bring in a guru to whip these young guys into shape and teach them some NFL technique. And like we've said before, I'm taking a blank check to Mike Munchak's house, and I don't know why they haven't done this already.
Because I think going to say that.
Yeah, I think this offensive line has great talent. That's just not being utilized, whether it be scheme or technique.
And when you're starting off with again, going to have to be second and third year players on the offensive line, you would think that Tomlin and whoever else in the organization would be smart enough to go get a Mike Munchak or a really good offensive line coach to start the process of showing up that offensive line. But yet, as usual, they still have their heads up their asses, and they still haven't done that. So,
okay. I mean, it's almost like Tomlin is afraid of having coaches under him that have potential to make him look bad. Like again, people say, "Oh, it's not a big deal, not a big deal." But let's talk the coaching tree. Like that is a big deal. The fact that this man has been an NFL coach for going on 19 years, and not a single assistant of his has gone on to be a head coach.
Look at fucking Dan Campbell, who just lost basically his whole coaching staff.
Yeah,
coaching staff.
Tomlin brings in guys like they always try anyway, other than Artie Smith, but they hire from within. They bring them up until they run them out of town. It's like us having a hot shot superstar coach in the making just isn't in the cards. I don't know if Tomlin has like anxiety over, doesn't want to be shown up and doesn't want somebody to think the grass might be greener kind of situation. So I don't see that happening. That's why I was shocked when we brought in Artie Smith last year.
Tomlin has a power trip, and he always hires yes men.
That's why Flores was gone. I think that, you could have had Flores, but you're like, no, this guy might be a threat. So we'll let him go do his thing. And he turned Minnesota into a great defense.
Yep.
All right. So we got about 6 minutes left to go. We'll start with you, D's. 5 people you don't want back real quick.
Russ, Larry O, Cam Sutton.
Oh, don't you dare say Cam Sutton. You just put Dave. Dave is just going to be all kinds of livid.
Russ,
Already
and
said Russ.
I know, and I'm probably gonna say it again.
Yeah.
I gotta quit drinking.
Had I known he was going to be drinking, I'd be here with you. Shit.
Right? It's Larry O, Russ, Cam Sutton. Come back to me. Start yours.
Okay, Chipper, go ahead. You're 5. You don't want back.
Cam Sutton, Larry Okunjobi.
Notice Cam Sutton is number 1 on everybody's list.
Ike Taylor. Oh, I'm sorry. He's already gone still.
Oh, he's been gone.
Shut your whore mouth.
Dan Moore.
Oh, that's one. Yes.
Russell Wilson. Cam Sutton. I don't think Cole. It's not that I don't want him back. I just don't think he'll be able to make it back because of the knee injury, and Steelers won't pay him. So that's 4. And the 5th, who I don't want back, Cordell Patterson.
I'm surprised you didn't say your other favorite player.
Who's that? Scotty Miller?
No, he's not coming back.
Who?
Your other. I'm
Who?
I'm about to get to him. So my top 5 I don't want back. We'll start with number 1. Absolutely, positively, I do not want Cam Sutton back in the Steelers uniform. Nowhere near this team. Let him walk. Number 2, unfortunately, I like this guy. He's just declined a little bit. Larry O. If you can get him back on maybe a restructured deal or bring him back somehow, some way, as it maybe a backup or whatnot, I'm okay with that. Number 3 on this list, Cole Holcomb. He's got to go, dude. He's taking up money. We already drafted to replace his replacement.
I mean, it's not like he's bad or anything. It's just he's coming
Chipper,
off
number 3 or number 4 on this list, Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got to bring him back, you bring him back. But Chipper, the main person you forgot on your list, Van Jefferson.
I mean, I don't want him back, but
you hated him all year long.
I do hate him.
For what?
But I'd much rather have him than Cam Sutton or Dan Moore.
Okay, but he's further down the list. So if you can get Jefferson back on a 1-year deal, $2.1 million, are you okay with bringing him back?
I'll take him over Mike Williams.
I wouldn't.
Really?
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want. Actually, I wouldn't. I don't want either one. I don't want Mike Williams or Van Jefferson, to be honest.
Yeah. So
give me Cordell Patterson. At least he can run the ball for a yard or 2.
The other one is Dan Moore at number 6, and then unfortunately, Najee's a little further down on this list. Najee Harris at 7. Them are my 2 honorable mentions with Dan Moore and Najee.
You went above and beyond. You went 7 for crying out loud.
2 honorable mentions, but number 1 that has to go is number 20, Cam Sutton. And put that jersey away. Don't let anybody wear that thing again, because the last 2 people that wore that jersey fucking suck. Patrick Peterson and Cam Sutton. Retire that jersey.
What are you going to do with the 6 or 7 Cam Sutton jerseys you have in your closet?
I'm going to wipe my ass with them and send them to Browns fans.
You can send them to Chicagoland. These can probably do something with them.
I'm pretty sure you can use them as shop rags.
Yeah, they'd be real nice. But yeah, the Dan Moore and Cordell Patterson would be my 4 and 5, with Van Jefferson a solid number 6. Because if you bring him back, fine, but you don't bring him back for anything much higher than vet minimum, and he's your 4th or 5th wide out on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't have a number 2 with production that low. It just you can't have it. I don't give a fuck how good he blocks.
Yeah. But picks for today, real quick, before we end the show.
Picks for today, I got Buffalo and Philadelphia.
Yeah, I'm riding hard on the Buffalo and Washington. I'd really like to see both of those teams go. I don't think Washington will do it, but I'd love to see it. Like,
I am going Buffalo Bills and the Washington. I hate everything they're doing. Dan Snyder, Redskins.
So you guys are riding the Jaden Daniels coattails instead of Saquon Barkley coattails.
I don't want to fucking see Philadelphia in a Super Bowl. I don't want to see Kenny Pickett get a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, that'd be a tough pill to swallow.
Philadelphia's just got such a beast of a team, and how can you?
You're right.
How can you go against Saquon Barkley?
I'm going against Kenny Pickett
when Washington has one of the worst run defenses in the league.
Well, we'll see today.
Yeah, I think he's in 2 games against Washington. He's like over 150 both games.
Yeah, and I took the over 125 today.
Okay, well, we'll see. Everybody's due to have a bad game every now and again, so let's hope.
Yeah, I like I said, I would love to see Washington, but I think much like we see it often with rookies in these high pressure situations, I think it might just be a little too big of a moment for Jaden at this point in his career.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that ends Steel City Renegades for this week. We'll let you know about a show next week. If you guys want to do a show, I'm fine with that. If not, then we'll start getting ready to do our mock drafts or whatever here pretty soon. But we'll let you guys know. We appreciate it. Dees, thanks for joining us this morning.
You bet.
And good luck with that hangover.
Thank you.
Chipper, thank you for coming in, and everybody in the chat
and showing off those guns, man. You got to do that more often, bro. That's unbelievable.
All right, Dees, have a good rest of your day. We're out, ladies and gentlemen, here from Steel City Renegades.